All right, all right, all right. Here we go back again on the other side of the coin. Look at the Brown excellence, boys. Oh my God. It's five-a-side here. Let's start again. We got the whole squad today. As usual, the usual suspects, Kamal, Vivek, and Shyam. But we've got a newbie here today, Akshay. And Akshay has been interacting a lot with the Brown Excellence episodes, and he's been wanting to come into the show. And I thought, yeah, perfect. This is exactly what us boys, we talked about that down the track. We want to take this Brown Excellence segment to different levels, introduce more of our kind into the show, and give them voice. And this isn't just for our kind, to be honest. I know Brown Excellence is a name, but look, anyone is okay to come into the show. But yeah, specifically, the whole ideology started by saying that we want sort of brown people to rise a little bit more in this show and have their voice. But yeah, boys, I don't need to introduce the other three that I've got, but just quickly, Akshay, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the introduction, Ms. Ben. I'm happy to be here. I'm really excited for the first show.
Brilliant. I will let you have your moment later on, because that was a good little story you told myself and Kamal, where you kind of work and what you kind of do. And I think that will be very interesting for the fans to know about that. It'll just be our secret. No one else will know. just the YouTube channel. But yeah, boys, let's get cracking into it. Yeah. I want to start talking some Chelsea news. Let's talk about some Chelsea news. I want to start talking about Avram Grant's news, which was floating around for the past few days. But Matt Law has come out in the last 24 hours stating that this particular news is fake. Now, from the get-go, when this sort of rumor came out, I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be fake, because I just didn't see how this could materialize into a proper news. Just too much craziness happening at the moment, and I just didn't think that this could possibly happen. But having said that, I guess there's an old saying, and you guys will agree with this, where there's smoke, there's some form of fire. There's always some of these stuff doesn't sort of materialize. I mean, some materialize out of thin air, but a lot of them have some sort of truth behind it. But I'll go to Kamal first up. First of all, worldwide Chels, my man Sadiq, please go to bed, for God's sakes. Like 4 a.m., bro. Go to bed. But nah, thank you, man, for joining in. But Kamal, this whole Avram Grant news, I know it's fake. I've just mentioned that it's fake. But from your opinion, there's been quite a lot of fans that have been talking about that perhaps Frank may need some sort of experience in the back room. I mean, are you one of those people that sort of sit in that fence in the sense that, yeah, perhaps he does need some experience? We've got too much inexperience in our back room with Jody Morris, with Frank, and could possibly someone like Steve Holland or anyone of that likes be helpful for Frank at the moment during this really hectic period that we've been going through?
Yeah, I definitely have been one of those people that think he does need some kind of experienced, older, wise man to lean on, just to kind of get some feedback and kind of be a different voice from the outside, as opposed to being a full-on Chelsea, insider, in that sense that Jody Morris has been there through playing days as well as through the youth team. And so I'm not sure how much Jody Morris actually is going to dispute the things that Frank Lampard's trying to do, if that makes sense. Whereas I'm not trying to say he's a yes man, but you kind of want someone to give a completely different alternative opinion, and just be like, hey, during my 30 years of management, however long it is, during my X amount of time, that, we did this, we did that, I recommend doing this, doing that. It's just someone to bounce more ideas off. I think the more brains and the more, heads you have in the room who have viable opinions, it won't be a problem. So you should definitely bring those guys in. So whether it's Avram Grant, whether it's someone else, for me, it shouldn't be Avram Grant, because I have kind of a hatred towards the man because he's always season. But someone of Steve Holland's ilk, and you kind of look back to Steve Holland in particular, you kind of put him in a vacuum. It seems like everything went to crap when Steve Holland left. Everything started when he left, when Kante's second season, Sorry, and now everything just kind of discombobulated since he left. So, how big of an influence did he actually have? It seemed like he had a pretty big one.
Yeah, man. No, I have to agree that it's all you see. All the big coaches and the experienced coaches, even they have that one, their right hand man, where they can bounce ideas off, and that right hand man is most times quite experienced themselves. And you look at our sort of backroom staff and the combination of Frank and Jody Morris, both are sort of learning on the job. So it's quite difficult when they come across such crazy situations that we've been coming across. Now, Vivek, obviously Kamal has said, first of all, Worldwide Charles, thank you for the super chat, man. I do appreciate that heaps. So kudos to that. But Vivek, obviously Kamal has mentioned that he wouldn't mind seeing some sort of experience. But here's my thought. I was having this conversation with Matisse and Eunice in Eunice's channel yesterday that I don't know how much Frank would appreciate that totally, because I feel like if Roman was to do something like that, that kind of gives me the feeling that Roman's not utterly confident with Frank. That, hey, like, if Roman, say for example, I'm Frank, right, and Roman gives me a call and go, hey, Frank, don't take this otherwise, but I'm going to give you someone just on the side where you can bounce ideas with, and he can someone experienced just to guide you through. I'd be a little bit annoyed. I'd be like, dude, do you not trust me? Like, if you don't trust me, are you Frank out? Are you Frank in, Roman? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd be asking him that. So, what's your perspective in this particular situation? I mean, would Frank be okay by having someone experienced on his side?
Miss. Great.
Sorry.
That's totally fine. Great points you've added over there, and Kamal also mentioned a couple of good points. I'd just like to add that I've been talking to a lot of people who have sources within the club. I know friends, and I knew this Avram Grant story was hogwash the moment I heard it, because it was just Sky Sports, just speculating, the story of TalkSport. And coming back to your point, Miss, yeah, absolutely. If I was Frank Lampard, I was in this position where, Avram Grant comes in, and you have to remember that back in 2008 and 2009, it was not the best relationship between Avram Grant and the players. And one key player during that time was a very young and a very in-prime Frank Lampard. And I really, really doubt, something like this would set in well with Frank Lampard on that. Coming back to the talk of experience, Miss, I've heard that Frank Lampard is getting a lot of support from the board. This is something which I've heard, even though there are a lot of conversations going on about managers, other managers, and potential replacements, which is true. The board is, looking at other options, but nothing to suggest that, it is imminent or things are moving towards a life post Frank Lampard's era at Chelsea. There is nothing suggesting that right now. The board fully support Frank Lampard. They want him there. The idea of bringing in experience, I may have to disagree, Miss, because I still believe that Frank Lampard's coaching team is very, very good. They are a very nice core. Jody Morris, Joe Edwards, and now Anthony Barry. They are a very good core, and I don't see a need to bring in another element from the outside at this particular time. And to add to this, we have a very old saying: "Too many cooks spoil the broth." Why do you want to spoil the broth right now? And also adding to this, Miss, talking about this point of experience, I'd like to mention Man City's coaching staff. I don't know how many of you must have heard of this name. His name is Brian Kidd. Brian Kidd has been with Manchester City for a very, very long time, and he's one of Pep Guardiola's assistants. He's quite old, actually. He's in his late 60s. And he's been with City for a very, very long time. And he's also part of Pep's coaching setup right now. But the dynamic right now is that if you bring in someone, say, of Avram Grant's nature, there is going to be sparks within the coaching setup. He's going to say something, Lampard's going to say something else. And, it's already, a time at Chelsea where things are not...
as you said, just too many cooks. Just too many cooks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why do you need someone in the middle right now? Like, okay, fine. If the board is backing Frank and they say, okay, Frank, look, here's the thing. We feel that you could use some more coaching staff with some more experience. Do that at the end of the season or at the start of 21-22. That's much better.
Yeah.
Why bring, something right now and spoil the harmony, which is already, there. It's already there. And we are still at a point where, results are not coming our way. Even though we won versus Morecambe, we are yet to see, the results with Fulham and the other games. And, who knows? If it goes well, this will be a non-topic in the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So I 100% understand what Kamal was saying, 100% understand what Vivek's saying. I want to go to Akshay now, and I want to spin this around a little bit, right? I mean, with our current form, Akshay, the way we've been going, which is, I think, take away the Morecambe win, it was like 1 in 7 wins, so 1 in 7 games, 1 win in 7 games, something like that. 3 losses, 2 draws, something quite ridiculous. It was poor form basically in the month of December. I mean, if we were to play this theory that perhaps there is some fire off the back of this particular rumor, I mean, could you blame someone like Roman to perhaps feel a bit worried about the situation and sending someone and giving that sort of assistance to Frank Lampard? I mean, if I was to sort of change that view in that perspective, could you perhaps see why Roman may opt to do that?
I mean, I can see why Roman may opt to do it, but I think the better way to do it would be to ask Frank if he has someone in mind, rather than me bringing in. It's going to be similar to like a Ross Barkley signing. Like, he's a player, right? But we all know that Kante was not someone who asked for Barkley. Like, the board comes and gives him to him, then you're not like Kante is not going to play him. And similarly, if you're going to give a player of, like, say, anyone who the manager doesn't want, then it's at the end of the day, he's going to come out and say, I didn't get the players I wanted, right? And that's a story that we have seen at Chelsea. Every 2 years, you have that carousel. And when it comes to adding backroom staff, I would even keep Lampard if we don't finish in the top 4. And the primary reason being, like, Chelsea, like, from what you're seeing, they're trying to build a culture. And everybody in that backroom staff is Chelsea born and bred. And you want, when you're trying to build that culture, you're going to go through a rough period of time. And you see Pep Guardiola's first season, he spent a lot of money and he ended up barely finishing 4th. And that's a manager of Guardiola's pedigree. And you see Klopp, it's the same thing. He's changed 11 players over 3 years. Now, Lampard's had a transfer ban and he's changed 7 players in a season without a preseason. And you ask any footballing manager, he'll state that importance of a preseason. This is not like, it's not like FIFA where you're going to come and say, I'm going to build an ultimate team and you're going to expect to play with a joystick behind, right? It's not the same thing. That's where I said, like, this year, like, these 2 weeks is going to be important. I tweeted that out, like, when I heard the news that one of our games may be postponed, that this is going to be like a preseason for us, with Morecambe being a friendly. And that's why I would say, like, the backroom stuff, I wouldn't say we need to add anybody. And I think Lampard was smart even in the summer window where he added Anthony Barry to that setup. So Lampard, I think he knows what he wants, but like any project, it's going to take time. And I've also seen, like, like you said, there is noise coming out of Chelsea that, like Hasenhüttl, Thomas Tuchel, managers like this are linked to the Chelsea post. And all of those are project managers. Hasenhüttl is not going to make Chelsea title contenders overnight. No, so same as Thomas Tuchel. And same as Pochettino. When results go bad, I saw United fans crying out for Pochettino. And now, like, after 2 losses, Chelsea fans also cried out, like, we can go for Pochettino maybe, and he'll do wonders. But they're all project managers. They take 2 to 3 years to build what they want.
My only response to that would be is that I completely understand what you're saying. Everything that you've just said in terms of building a culture, building a foundation, and having that Chelsea sort of culture built up. But we need to realize at the end of the day, Roman's not doing this for free. He's putting his big money to get results. He's been doing that for us for the past 20 years. Probably not so much in the last 10 years, but in the first 10 years of our tenure with Roman, he was pumping in money into our club. And one doesn't just pump in money to wait very, very long for the culture to sink in, for everything. He wants results. I want Premiership, I want titles. And he understands as well that these things can't happen immediately. He gets that, but that's why the whole 3-year plan and all of that started happening just before the season, where, last season was that, stabilization, this season, get close to the top, and then next season, really go for the honors, right? But this season, we're going through the same sort of issues, albeit with new players and whatnot. And I think we have all sort of adjusted our expectations of this season, knowing that it is, quite crazy what's going on. So, everyone sort of come to a realization that maybe top 4 is the best. But anything less than top 4, Akshay, honestly, I can't see how we can mandate that. I really can't see, even though I do understand what you're saying in regards to be patient. I honestly can't say how Frank Lampard, with the players that he didn't have last season, gets top 4 with £250 million given to him this season with all the players that he wanted, and he doesn't make top 4. But I guess that's a whole different conversation. But just quickly, Sham, I want to go to you now. Your thoughts about getting experience for Frank Lampard. I mean, are you pro or against this?
Look at this thing now. I'm actually all in for experience, but I also know for a fact that you can't bring in experience for the sake of it. I mean, you need to have a clear idea there. As Akshay mentioned, you need to first ask Lampard if he has someone in mind. If he says person so and so, all right, go for him. But then this whole Grant scenario was I felt was forced upon by the media, and we all knew how it was. But I think if at all you're bringing someone in, you need to bring someone who has the same vision as Lampard in first place. And I think that's going to be very difficult if you're going to bring someone who's very experienced, because for a fact I know that Lampard has already men with him who share a common view, common vision. And if you're going to bring someone else from outside, I feel it's only going to cause a lot of tension in the camp, a friction of views, ideas, which I think can work in your favor as well. But I think for now, I think we are good as we are.
No, man. I think overall the general consensus, what I'm getting from all of you guys, that I mean, you wouldn't mind it, but at the same time, it's probably not ideal. It probably wouldn't be ideal to have it. I think Kamal's probably the only one that's probably thinking that, perhaps some experience in the back. But overall, I think, as Vivek said, and somewhat Akshay and also Shyam has mentioned, that too many cooks is not the ideal way to tackle this at the end of the day. I think that's pretty much it. At the end of the day, this whole Avram Grant story, guys, is fake. We are just entertaining the thought of whether an experienced man, because we need to understand that Frank hasn't faced all of these situations that he's going through now as a manager. He might have faced it as a player, but as a manager, it's totally different ball of game. So this is very different. Let's now talk about give me 1 second. There's some people in the background. It always seems to happen just this time around, every time. Brown excellence, guys. You need to give us some time. To make the family understand this. Boys, next topic. Let's get on to it. It's about N'Golo Kante. I'll go to Kamal this time. We'll go through the same circle. Kamal, in recent times, I haven't really been impressed by Kante, to be honest. Some of the games that we've played, Manchester City, Arsenal, for me, he hasn't been. He's actually been found out in that position, because the way Frank is playing Kante is, with the ball, it seems like we want to build up, and it's very difficult to have to rely on Kante, who many times other coaches have mentioned this, that his best characteristic is not ball distribution. His best characteristic is seek and destroy, intercept. Like, that's why he leads the count in interceptions. That's why he leads the counts in, making those key tackles. So with the ball, it seems like we get in trouble when we want to build up, and that's why we have to go sideways. And when we go sideways, we get cramped in position, and basically our whole build-ups gets destroyed. Without the ball, what's happening is, with the attacking eights, they're bombing up and they're pressing, and the press is not as a unit. The press is not as a team. So one or two players will press and the whole team will just relax and not press, which then finds Kante all isolated. and it really, really singles him out. So, in your perspective, one, how has his performance been? And two, what would be the best way to utilize him in our team?
So yeah, overall, you can't say he's been great because he hasn't, right? It's kind of up and down. He has performances where he looks fantastic and performances where he doesn't. Against the better opposition, I do think he looks bad because it's not just down to him though. So I think, like you just said, he gets kind of overwhelmed in the sense that he's got so much responsibility just on his shoulders, and everyone else has not been stepping up to the plate. So as we discussed last week, Mount wasn't pressing as his usual self. Ziyech wasn't pressing at all. Kovacic wasn't doing anything. So when no one else is doing their job, it's impossible for one man to cover everyone and try and find the spaces where Kevin De Bruyne's running and Phil Foden's running. So using that in a vacuum again, it's impossible just to judge him isolated. But yeah, I mean, it's tough because he has too much to do, and he does, like, from my understanding, from when you look at the games, it does look like he enjoys going forward a little bit too. Like you saw against Arsenal, where he's over the halfway line and he's the last man back.
It's just in his nature.
Yeah, he likes to roam about a bit. So that comes to the second part of the question. It's how he's always been best, and it's always been. And you look at his best seasons, it's always been with another defensive player next to him. So you look at how he won the league at Leicester. We hate the guy now, but Drinkwater that year was actually pretty good.
Phenomenal.
So, exactly. He was winning balls. He was distributing it. He was combative. He was nonstop. The second season after that, right after, it's 2 seasons. Sorry, it's Nemanja Matic in his prime. Yeah. So them two together, it seems like the best way to get the best out of Kante is with, like I said, just like another defensive player next to him that can distribute, but as well as do a similar job to him, maybe not as good as ability-wise, but someone next to him that's also going to share that responsibility, because he does like to go up and sometimes he gets caught out. So you could say Declan Rice and Kante next to each other would be absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. It would be ridiculous, and that's probably a title-winning tandem right there. But he can't, in my opinion, he can't do it by himself, just in the system, because the second one of those attacking eights gets pulled out of position or loses focus for a second, it's a wrap on the counter, especially. So against the lower tier opposition, he's okay, but against the ones you want to play against and the ones you want to beat, he can't do it by himself. So he needs to be like a 4-2-3-1 or something.
True talk. Vivek, if you are Frank Lampard and you must start Kante because that's what's been happening in recent times, how do you now accommodate this? Because 4-3-3 doesn't seem like it's working. 4-2-2, I don't know if we have all the formation, all the ingredients for it. So how would you put Kante in the team, knowing his characteristics of bombing, as Kamal said, he loves to go forward, he loves to break through the line, he loves to dribble sometimes. I mean, how would you sort of play Kante with his characteristics in our team?
I'd like to retract back to the point about where you said the 4-3-3 is not working. I'll have to disagree with the not working part. You might have noticed this. We've regressed in December, and December has been a month where the fixtures were very cramped, and Kante has been playing a lot of games. And I was talking to a couple of people about mental fatigue and stress being another part. About playing in the Premier League. You're playing so many games at a time, and players are prone to that. And Kante, I doubt he's immune to that too. The performances against City and Arsenal were very poor. Yes, absolutely no shying away from that. Both were very, very poor. And the problem was he was the only one doing the work over there, like Kamal said. Where was Kovacic? Mount didn't have a great game too that day. Both of them were, they left Kante in no man's land over there, and he was pretty much trying to contain Foden and Kevin De Bruyne all by himself. The talk is not about why the 4-3-3 is not working. The talk, should be about where is Kante, regressing right now. If you notice, the whole team is regressing as a whole, not just Kante. And I would say I've been emphasizing this again and again and again. We lost both those games at midfield, and all three midfielders who started that game are equally responsible as Kante for those losses. So I will never put the blame entirely on Kante. Yes, he has been poor, but so has the rest of the midfield too. Now, coming back to your point of a hypothetical 4-2-3-1 miss, right now, though he does not start versus Fulham, the next game I believe it's versus Leicester. If I'm not wrong, please do correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
It's versus Leicester. So if you're playing versus Leicester, I believe if you're starting Kante, I want him to play a free role with Gilmour in the pivot. I want Gilmour to take up the playmaking role, and I want Kante to play the role where he does best: win the ball, make those interceptions, be a menace in the final third. Press after the team loses the ball in the final third, try to win the ball high up. This is what I want to see him do too. That's another hypothetical situation. Is why I say this is because Gilmour is playing very, very well, and I want to see him, be featured in the first team a lot more, because Gilmour is technically the best progressive passer we have in the squad right now. Not Mason Mount, not Kante, not Kovacic, or not Jorginho. Out of all,
I agree with that.
Yeah, out of all the five midfielders, Gilmour is the best progressive passer we have right now. And we all saw what he did versus Morecambe. I think his quality will be even better versus Fulham. And I believe if we are starting Kante versus Leicester, start him in a 4-2-3-1, or if you're starting him in a 4-3-3, I'd say put Kante further up with Gilmour playing the number 6 role, and on the right hand side maybe Mount or Havertz, depending upon what the situation is. Say 2-3 weeks from now.
So you would actually play Kante in so if it's a 4-3-3, you'd play him as one of the 8s.
Yeah, I would. It's not a bad decision. We already saw what he can. We already know what he can do as an 8 as well. The only disadvantage he brings as an 8 is that he does not have that end product which, say, Mason or Havertz doesn't have.
And that's a big disadvantage, bro.
Yeah, it is a big disadvantage, miss. And this is, like I said, we are hypothetically talking about bringing in Kante. Yeah. There are only 2 roles for him. The role in the 4-2-3-1 is on the right side of the pivot, playing with a playmaking midfielder. On the 4-3-3, either as a DM or as an 8. The problem is that the skill sets is a little bit limited. That is a problem. Yeah. And that is something which Frank needs to manage. As we move on.
Akshay, what's your thoughts? Are you convinced with Kante being the lone DM? You've now seen quite a few matches for Chelsea with Kante being the lone DM. Are you sort of confident that this guy can perhaps progress what Frank is trying to do in terms of the 4-3-3 lone DM, attacking 8s? Are you convinced that Kante is the man for the lone DM?
Not in big games by a mile. Like he cannot play the lone DM against like teams like Man City, Arsenal, Tottenham.
Let's say Bayern Munich. For argument's sake, let's say Bayern Munich.
There's no way he can play, because the way Lampard wants to play, he wants us to be on the front foot, and predominantly when Kante plays in midfield, he's won titles when we have played counter-attacking football. That's the reality, right?
That's the reality.
And when I'm looking at I was a big fan of Mauricio Sarri when he came in. A lot of people aren't, but when there is a lot of talk of Kante being misused in Sarri's system, right? When he played Jorginho at the base. But when you look at teams that want to play on the front foot, I'm not saying Jorginho is the solution by any means, because I'm not convinced of him in the DM role as well. You need a player who's physical, who can play the ball front, and who's brave enough to go into positions to collect the ball. And Gilmour lacks a little bit of physicality, but he's other than that aspect, he's the perfect one to play at the base, because he moves the ball much faster to the front than Jorginho. Yeah. You see Gilmour, the way he receives the ball with his head up, because he wants to see where that ball's going to go out of his feet.
Very true.
And whereas Jorginho is going to receive, and his first answer is to see whether Rudiger or Zuma or Silva is coming up. Right,
those players know where the pass is going to go before the ball even comes to them.
Yeah, and with Kante in a 4-3-3, he has to play at the 8. And when you see Sarri's system, when he played Jorginho, Kovacic, and Kante was the best end product in the 3. That's not by any means a great achievement because Kovacic and Jorginho have terrible end products as well. But Kante's end product is not all that bad, I would say. Like he's a decent player when it comes on the ball.
But here's a question, though, Akshay, just to interject. We've been doing a lot of crossing, and we've seen Kante in the box when some of these crosses are coming in. It's not a very pretty sight. I mean,
it's not a pretty sight.
Is that what we expect?
I mean, a lot of the things, like, yeah, I've seen a lot of the things that we don't create enough through the middle, right? And a lot of that in the big games, I'm sure we can create down the middle if we play the right system and the right players with Ziyech in form. We're going to create down the middle. But the thing is, when people play low blocks, it's really hard to create through the middle. Like it's tough. You need to have that one touch play, and when you need like a player like Hazard and full flow where he rebounds off 3-4 players, he gets past and he's in the middle. And Pulisic is the only player with that dynamic running who can create that. I mean, Ziyech can create a pass, but when you see like penetrate through the middle, I think at least for now, Pulisic is the only player who can do that for us. And that's why when you see Liverpool's team, nobody complains when Robertson and Arnold has most of the assists. They create from the middle. I mean, they create from the width, and that's because when you bomb the middle, the space is on the width, and there's no doubt that when you have two quality players, I would like argue that Chelsea have the second best fullbacks in the league, even at the moment.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. The issue with the Liverpool thing, and I completely understand what you're saying, Akshay, is that when they cross in, when Trent Alexander-Arnold or Robertson cross in, it's Salah, Mane, Firmino, Wijnaldum, Henderson. The lot is in the box. Like they throw the kitchen sink in there. And the other thing is they're very, very smart in transition. Not only they throw the kitchen sink when the cross is coming in, they retreat back quickly because they know that they're going to get exposed if they don't track back quickly. And this is where Aston Villa game, if you guys remember, the 7-2. Aston Villa exposed them a lot in the midfield area, and they isolated Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson because they were very quick to make the transition because Liverpool just throws everyone into the box. And that's their whole game with bringing in all these crosses. But it's a game where I don't think we are doing that way. We're not really emulating. We want to emulate Liverpool, but we are not really emulating Liverpool. Our worst part is that when we are trying to emulate them, our midfield falls asleep during transition. So what happens is this cross comes in, the defensive header comes in, and before you know, it's a counter attack, and our centre backs are exposed.
Yeah, I agree with you, Miss. But that's where I think before the show started, I was telling you like an interesting proposition, right? Like, Azpilicueta is a good player, so we can play him as right back, and Reece James has played in centre mid. It's an option that we can definitely explore for this season, where we play James as our defensive midfielder. One, he's very, very good on the ball. He's physical, and he's going to make those forward passes. If he can cross the ball from those positions like that, I'm sure he can pick a pass, whether it's long range or short range.
I've seen him do that with Wigan, because in Wigan, he has played the last few games as a DM. I've got some clips saved where he has pinged those passes from DM. But let's go to Shyam. Shyam, this is a really good question here, which I want to throw to you from Rafa Javed. Rafa Javed, shout out to you, my man, for this question. Where will you fit Rice in 4-3-3 if Kante is to start too? Good luck, bro.
I mean, with Rice, you actually know what type of player you're bringing in. I mean, he's the priority as of now, I guess. I think Rice as a DM, Kante. Okay, I think if I am to go along with Kante, I mean alongside Rice, I'd actually go for a 4-2-3-1, and if it's a 4-3-3, I think Kante misses out. And
that's
the reason why I
said,
said,
you heard it. Shyam said Kante misses out. Give him all the hate. He deserves all the hate.
Yeah. Okay, so the reason why I say this is because of the fact that you got two incredible players out there who can perform the role of eights. One is Kai and the other is Mount, and I think the attacking output you need from these guys is really, really important if you're going to play a 4-3-3 system. And Kante being a world class player, I think he still lacks that the final end product as you guys mentioned. I think with Rice, I think we are more a balanced side with Mount and Kai alongside
Yeah.
them than
He's
say
more disciplined. He's
Kante.
actually more of a lone DM.
Exactly. And I think last season, yes, the last season, I think the initial few games that Kante started, we actually saw how easy it was to drag him aside. You know,
Yeah.
opposition did that repeatedly. Be it him, be it Kovacic. I think they actually that was the key for them. So I think in a 4-3-3 with Rice, I think Kante misses out.
Yeah, no, man. I think this is quite interesting because obviously the next topic that we're going to talk about is Ampadu, and we were all sort of saying offline that, you know, what happens with Ampadu if Rice comes in. Well, I kind of said that, well, Ampadu kind of doesn't make it. I don't think they can coexist. Now, this question has really started all of us thinking, well, if Rice comes in and we still continue with 4-3-3, I think Kante starts missing out. Let's be honest about it, right? Like, I feel like Kante is probably the one that's missing out, as Shiam rightfully made the statement that if Rice plays as a lone DM, you want a couple of attacking players aside on the side who are capable of scoring goals, making goals. Yes, you still need some form of defensive quality, but you still need that output. And I think Kante probably doesn't give that output as much as Kai and Mount would. So this is quite interesting. Let's move on to the next topic, which will kind of overlay with this one. Come on. Our man Ampadu has performed a man of the match performance against Newcastle, gave Sheffield United their first victory, was very, very vital to their first victory of the season. I feel like this has been a very, very difficult loan for Ampadu, for playing for a team that is constantly losing week after week after week. It would be very difficult mentally to go through all of that. But having said that, he's getting the opportunity with Chris Wilder. I hope that he's learning a lot as well in that group. Chris Wilder is a very good coach, albeit is not having the best season. Most likely they're going to get relegated. They're in a very bad situation. My question that I want to put forward to you is, does this player have a future, knowing that we are talking so much about Declan Rice? We are talking about N'Golo Kante, who's not finished yet with Chelsea, possibly has another couple of seasons at max.
Yeah.
I mean, this player can play centre-back. We've seen now with what he's doing with Sheffield United. He's done that for Wales. Wales, he's also done lone DM for them as well. And I've seen a couple of his matches, not just for Sheffield United, but for Wales. He's got a very strong mentality. He's a good character, man. He feels like he could be a leader as well down the track. Like, he's got that leadership quality.
Yeah.
Do you see a future for this particular player in Chelsea if we were to get someone like Declan Rice?
That's such a tough question, because you kind of when it comes to Ampadu, you're kind of trying to still figure out what's his best spot. I think that's what so many managers in the past have tried to figure out, because he's had 2 years of, if we're honest, 2 years of like stunted growth, because under Sarri he didn't play at all, and then he didn't play hardly ever played at RB Leipzig, and we all kind of got excited by that loan, and it didn't work out at all. So now he's at Sheffield United, where he's playing with a team that's struggling. So he's a standout performer. It kind of reminds me of Zuma at Stoke, where played every game but got relegated, but still learned a lot and got valuable minutes as Premier League. But I do think, for me anyway, I do kind of like Ampadu as a centre-back. I don't like him fully as a DM. I'm not sure why, but to me, I like him as a centre-back because he's got that kind of qualities about him, like you just said. That kind of leadership, that kind of grittiness to win a tackle, to go up for everything and be extremely combative.
He's got that mongrel in him, huh? He's got that fight, that dirty fight in him.
Exactly, and you need that. And so you kind of look at the players we have right now, okay? So we've got Thiago Silva, who's on a year left. Whether or not he gets extended is another thing. Then you've got Rudiger and Christensen, who both have just a year and a half left on their contracts. So that's 3 potential players that you're going to potentially lose at some point. So I do think Ampadu has a part to play in this team if Rice comes in. Because Rice is definitely going to be that. Rice is, if we're all honest, and I think we all agree here, it's kind of like a Frank Lampard kind of pushed target as opposed to a club target. So if Lampard's still here and Rice comes in, then Rice is the DM, and Ampadu could potentially fill in as a kind of rotational player as a centre-back Perhaps. Does he play every game? I'm not sure. I doubt it, but I would like him in the squad. I think he's a quality player.
No, absolutely, man. I think he's definitely a quality player. Vivek, I want to explore what Kamal said that, Thiago Silva possibly only got one more year. I mean, this is his first year. He may have an extension next season. I think he probably will. But there's also been recently talks about Vivek, about Jose Jimenez from Atletico Madrid, and that seems like a proper legitimate case here. Now, throw that into the mix as well with Declan Rice, along with that, which seems like is almost a done deal in the summer next season. I want to now throw you to the question to you: Does Ampadu actually have a chance to be one of the mainstays for Chelsea?
Personally, Miss, I don't think there's a point, talking about Declan Rice and Ethan Ampadu. In my humble opinion, why? Because Ethan Ampadu's long-term future, I personally believe, is going to be at centre back. He has the qualities to be an excellent centre back. We saw what he's doing in a back three versus Newcastle. He won almost. He won 90% of his aerials. He had 89+% pass completion, and he was playing like an absolute don in that Sheffield backline. He was Sheffield's best player by a big mile. And the thing with Rice is, Miss, I see Rice as a defensive midfielder going down the lane. Even though he's versatile and even though he can play as a centre back, I personally see the club signing Declan Rice, if they do in the summer. I see him as a defensive midfielder. Now, the interesting dynamic here is that I know that there are lots of rumors speculating that we may only Kurt Zuma's future as centre back is secure next season. So Thiago Silva, Thiago Silva, we all know, is 36, and there is talks that Thiago may have the competitive fire in him to get his spot in the 2022 World Cup, one last hurrah before retirement. And we all know that Thiago is also doing his coaching badges right now. He's doing his coaching education, and he is planning to take up management. And another factor is that Thiago's family is very well settled in London, and they are enjoying life over there. He sees a good future for his kids in London too. So there are talks that Thiago may renew next season, but that's not sure. Christensen and Rudiger, I highly doubt they stay at the club next year, Miss. I don't see I don't see a future for both Rudiger and Christensen over there. And this brings to the question Ampadu. So Ampadu walks into this team next season along with another commanding centre-back, which Matlaw has mentioned in his article yesterday, saying that Chelsea are in the market for a commanding centre-back, and this commanding centre-back can be Dio Upamecano, can be Jose Maria Jimenez. We don't know, it may be someone else. So this person comes in along with Kurt Zouma, and we have Ampadu and Thiago Silva, and there you go. You have a very formidable, formidable centre-backs over there. You have 4 very quality centre-backs over there, along with 1 new signing. I don't see a reason why Ampadu cannot make it at Chelsea, unless and until there's some worst-case scenario, injuries or something else goes wrong. I don't see a reason as to why he cannot make it at Chelsea whatsoever, because the kid's been quality, Miss, and this is the time. He's been playing very well. He's telling Frank Lampard, look, boss, I'm playing very well. I think you see why I deserve a time over there, at Chelsea. And another player also knocking on the first team squad is Mark Guehi, playing at Swansea right now, playing at a very high level, playing at a level higher than the championship demands, Miss. This is another player knocking at Chelsea's door very slowly. We have 2 very quality centre-backs, and we have Xavier Mbuyamba, the wonder kid from Netherlands, Barcelona. Yeah, so
the talent is immense at the moment. And I want to now go to Akshay and continue this, because I was just thinking whilst Vivek was talking about this, it's great to have a lot of numbers. Vivek was saying that, you have Thiago Silva, maybe another quality centre-back that we may get. Zuma is going to be there, and Ampadu. But we already saw, Akshay, what has happened to Tomori when there's too many numbers with 5 CBs. Tomori is not happy. He's so desperate that he's even opting to go to AC Milan, and I don't even think that's a good choice for him, because I don't think he's going to start there. But the frustration just gets to the level where the player just wants to play. So from your perspective, is it always good? And Vivek has also mentioned, Mbuyamba, Mark Guehi. Mark Guehi is a player that Chelsea is seriously scouting whilst he's in the championship. They're really, really looking at him, and they're actually very impressed by him. So, it looks like that there's another centre back that could have a future. So when you throw all of this in, Akshay, honestly speaking, where does Ampadu sit in? Because Tomori, I don't think he's a close case for us yet, even though he wants to go to loan. He's still a very dynamic centre back. Yes, he's has that error in him every now and then, but he's a young CB. Obviously, he's going to have that. So from your perspective, something has to give here. They can't all make it.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think Tomori will make it. That's my opinion. And the reason why I say that is because I saw the Liverpool game when he came on. He was really good, but Lampard always insists he picks people on how he trains or how they train. And from what I'm reading, like Tomori is not a great trainer, and he's not someone who's undroppable for him to train at a standard below Lampard's expectation. So I don't expect Tomori to make it big at Chelsea. And I think Rudiger and Christensen, like both Vivek and Kamal said, and I agree. I'm sure that you both, Sham, and you also agree that they're not going to be at Chelsea next year. So there's going to be a revamp at centre back. And I think Javier Mbuyamba is like for him to come into discussion, it's at least a season or two away. So I'm not going to talk too much about how he's going to impact. But whereas Ampadu and Guehi, I think they fight for one spot next year, and the other person goes on loan. So you can look at the pros and cons. Like when you look at Guehi, he's playing at a championship team, but he's playing at a championship team that's pushing hard to come into the Premier League next year. And he's playing 2 games a week, and that's how the championship is. The nature of the championship is really, really hard, and you've seen like players out. And even Tomori play at Derby at those levels and come back and perform well at Chelsea. And the second thing is Ampadu. Ampadu's, I think he's building a lot of character, right? It's not easy playing for a relegation team. Week in, week out, you're losing, but he's someone who I've seen who has a big personality. He's like a lot more like Gilmore, really vocal. He's not afraid even if John Terry is next to him. I don't think Ampadu is afraid to talk to John Terry and communicate to John Terry. He's that kind of personality. One thing what Ampadu has over Mark Guehi is Ampadu is two-footed. Like his left foot and right foot are really, really good. True. In terms of distribution.
Mark Guehi is left-footed, I think, though. Mark Guehi
is left-footed. But Ampadu's his footing is like a lot like John Terry. It's really hard for me to say which is John Terry's left, like weak foot. The only time I knew he's the right footer is when he missed a penalty right with the right foot. I was expecting him. He could have taken it with either foot. And Ampadu is like a lot like that. And I think a lot is going to be on how they train in preseason. And I think Ampadu and Guehi fight out for one spot. But I think 2 out of Mbuyamba, Guehi and Ampadu can make it because Thiago Silva has 1 more year. And all these 3 players are really young. And it doesn't hurt for them to have 1 more season on loan. Personally, I mean, it's hard to say. I've seen Ampadu play more than Guehi this year. So for me to compare and say which one will be in the squad is a little bit premature, I would say, at this moment. So I would keep Ampadu just because I've seen him more over Guehi at this point in time. And it's not like I'm anti-Guehi or anything like that, but it's just that I've not seen Guehi enough for me to comment on whether he should be in the 22-man squad next year.
No, absolutely. And I think we all can agree someone's got to miss out at the end of the day. Big shout out to Deep State. Misinformation, disinformation always turns up on our stream. Big up, Miz. Thanks for that comment. Question. I always have all these special questions for Shyam. Another one from Rafael Javed. Let's start with this, and we'll talk. We'll finish up your point of view with Ampadu. Rafael has mentioned, who do you prefer, Upamecano or Jose Jimenez?
Okay. For now, I think I'd prefer.
We always give him the hard ones.
Yeah. So I'd actually go along with Jimenez here. I think we need a commanding CB who's experienced as well. But I think I'd actually be wary of the price as well here. I think his release clause is very expensive. So if at all we can negotiate a reasonable fee, I'd actually go with Jimenez. But then, hey, I'm not complaining if you get the other guy as well. You know, he's termed to be the next big thing from the Bundesliga. So I think first it's Jimenez, but then if not him, then I'd go with Upamecano.
Nah, fair point, man. I think all of us. I don't know. Just quickly, I would actually go with Jose Jimenez as well. I mean, I haven't watched too much. I've seen a little bit of Atletico Madrid's games this season. He looks quite solid. Just quickly to get your consensus, everyone. Kamal, between Upamecano,
Jimenez. Yeah, Jimenez. Upamecano is overrated, man. Overrated.
Vivek?
So overrated.
I'll actually go for Dio Upamecano, miss. 2 reasons. One reason is that
Vivek's always the special one, isn't he? Always goes for the other one.
Yeah, leaving out the release clause, miss. This kid's special. I'll give you 2 reasons why. Chelsea are looking for a commanding centre back, and this commanding centre back means that this is the person around whom the entire team plays. And one thing about Upamecano is Upamecano starts the attack for RB Leipzig. He does that time and time again. Yeah, he pings those long balls. He pings those ground balls into midfield. He does that, and he's very quick. He's very physical. He's an absolute beast. And at 40 million, no brainer for Upamecano. The only problem with Upamecano I've noticed is he does make these errors.
Yeah, rash at times.
Yeah, he's quite rash. But again, that comes with a young defender, miss. Upamecano reminds me a lot of a very young Kurt Zouma I saw back in 2014. He reminds me a lot. And I'm so happy that Kurt is finally made into the Chelsea team, because Jose gassed this guy up so much in 2014. And I was so disappointed when he tore his meniscus. I was so disappointed. Yeah. And right now seeing Kurt Zouma absolutely do bits in the league is fantastic. And this is one of the reasons why I want Upamecano over here at Chelsea, because I think he is the next big thing in football.
No, fair enough. I love this. This is why it's interesting. Kamal goes with Jimenez, Vivek goes with Upamecano. These are the different perspectives. No one's right, no one's wrong. You just have to understand why one sees it the way they want to see it. Honestly, boys, shout out to Rafael Javed. He's on the fire. By the way, Rafael Javed, man, honestly, if you ever want to come to the show, man, I would love to have you on, because you've been piling up the comments massively here, and some top comments. He's got another comment here. We also have Malang Sarr, which we haven't talked about. So true. And he's killing it at the moment in Porto. So there's another food for thought over there. But I feel like Malang Sarr was probably more of an investment that, if he does well, pays off for us, for Porto. We'll probably sell him to Porto and make some money out of it. That's easy money for us. So I think that's probably one of the reasons of getting Malang Sarr. But boys, go on, man.
Sorry to interrupt you, miss. And adding on to Malang Sarr, I've been seeing Porto fans saying that they're not too impressed with Malang Sarr. So he still has he still has a very long way.
Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, wow, man. There you go.
He's been dropped also a few times, like Malang Sarr. At least I've seen that. But I mean, there's one more thing you have to consider. The reason why I would pick Jimenez over Upamecano, right, is because Jimenez plays at a 4 at the back. Whereas Upamecano plays at the 3 at the back.
The 3 at the back. True.
It's a little bit. So, and one more thing is, you're looking at replacing Thiago Silva at this time. Who's going to take over the reins from Thiago Silva? When you get Upamecano, you're again getting a young product, and I don't think like Zouma itself is like getting better.
We don't need another young product. Yeah. True.
Yeah. So, and we have Gueye, we have Ampadu, and I'm going to look at someone who's going to add immediate value. Yeah. And actually, a controversial opinion would be not to go for either of the two and try breaking the bank for like one of the City centre backs.
Ooh,
like,
here we go.
Yeah,
never gonna happen.
I mean, I think you can. I mean, money is at the end of the day, money is going to talk. And if you're going to spend 70 or 80 million, you can take the third centre back from Man City, because they're not playing Laporte at this moment.
Oh, I would take Laporte. I would take it.
Yeah.
So they would have done it.
I mean, they may not sell, but the moment you put an offer on the table, it's gonna make Laporte think. Because Chelsea
Ladies
is a big
and gentlemen, just some inside knowledge, and I think it's the right time to break it. Akshay actually works for Manchester City. He's a data analyst there. Akshay, I want to let you.
I work for another company that works with Manchester City, but yeah.
Tell us a little bit about it. The fans will enjoy this.
I mean, I work for a product company that is basically bought by Manchester City. They use it mainly for like injury analysis. They try to predict, condition their players, and that helps with their squad rotation. That basically helps them pick who they're going to drop or who they're going to rest based on basically health levels of their players. So we get in health data, they run machine learning algorithms on it to see who their playing 11 should be. Purely based on fitness. I'm sure Guardiola takes other aspects before he picks his 11. He's not a one-dimensional coach by any means. But yeah, it's really interesting what they do.
That's brilliant, bro. Honestly, what you're doing is absolutely brilliant, man. So yeah, guys, do follow Akshay. If you ever want some fantasy Premier League information about Man City players who's injured, I'm sure he might not give that, but you never know, he may. But guys, we've come to an end of the show. We've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about a lot of people, a lot of players and whatnot, and we've got Vivek's family coming into the channel as well. But this is what happens in Brown Excellence, guys. All crazy stuff. My kid's probably just going to walk in very soon. He's crying at the background all the time. But guys, thank you heaps. Special guest to Akshay. Thank you so much, man. You've honestly contributed.
Thank you, Akshay.
We probably will have you again sometime in the show. But yeah, guys, if you guys are interested, whoever is watching down the track, if you're interested to come into the show, please reach out to any one of us, and we could possibly make that happen and grow this particular segment further. But yeah, all of us here that you see in the screen, all of their information is in the description. Please follow them. They're lovely people to have a conversation with. They're not one of those kids out there in that platform, the bird platform that they call it, and they're running havoc. These guys are actually proper people who you can actually have great conversations with. So please go and follow them. And to each and every one of you guys that has tuned out throughout this session, hope you guys have enjoyed every bit of it. Please leave comments later on in any of the topics we've talked about, any one of us will try and address that. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, smash that like button, hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all our content. And yeah, until next week, everyone, see ya.
See you.
Take care, guys.
Yeah.